you have some concerns you see in your children. Okay, great. How many of you came because you want the practical tips, something like those 10-point turnaround? You really came for the tips and strategies. Very good. Some of you still not raising your hand, huh? Last one. How many of you are going to, or at least endeavor to, after hearing all the tips, apply at least one thing you have learned from today? I hope to see you 100%. Okay, so good evening everybody. My name is Sha-En, and I used to be a teacher. I'm a parent, I have 2 children. You'll see their pictures in a while. And I'm also a trainer and speaker in the area of positive psychology. I want to start my talk today with telling you a little story of a boy I used to teach when he was in primary 4. This was a number of years ago. So let's call him Alex. Alex came to me, a brilliant, bright student. He was very helpful in class. He was the kind of student who would raise his hand when you ask any kind of question in classroom, the kind of student any teacher would love to have. However, one day, I gave him back his math test results, and he got 95 upon 100. Parents, would you love your kids to have 95 upon 100 as a result? Many of them would say yes. And when I gave the paper to Alex, I was delighted for him because those last 5 marks I couldn't even solve as the teacher. I had to look at the answer key. And instead of jumping for joy, as I would have, he started crying. And part of me started asking, is it tears of joy? Can't be, right? Because he looked kind of miserable. And I said, and Alex, are you okay? And he said, Miss Yo, you don't understand. Every mark I do not get to 100, I get 5 strokes of the cane from my dad. I was very affected, I still am. And I always remember Alex whenever I'm giving my talk. And it made me wonder, I was not a parent then yet, but what is the role that we have in nurturing resilience in our children? How do we support children like Alex, who have a challenging home environment, but they're so good at what they do, and yet 95 upon 100 is still not good enough for him? How do we help this child bounce back from that challenge, look at life a bit more optimistically? Right? These were the questions in my head, and with that is the reason why I went to study positive psychology, to find the answers. So today, when I want to share with you about resilience and positivity, I keep Alex firmly in my heart, and I have 3 points that I want to share. First, as parents, as educators, we need to support their emotions. I will go into detail what that means. Next one, we need to help them to embrace failure. Earlier, Imelda mentioned our parenting mindset is important, and I will go into that in a little bit more detail. But our role, I think, really is to help them embrace the failure. Many parents get frightened by this, but if they feel sure, if I see a hole down there, and I see them walking into the hole, I want to save them. I don't want them to walk in the hole because I've walked in it myself, and it doesn't feel good. But that is the mindset that we have. I'll talk a bit more as we go along. Second point is embrace failure. Third point is focus on what they can do, not only what they can't do. In Alex's case, the dad focused on the 5 marks he did not get to 100 instead of the 95 marks, which demanded a lot from him to get 95. He was the top in the level. What more could we expect from Alex? Right? So focus on their strengths. So point number 1, support their emotion. So when I say support their emotion, I would like you to look at that picture there. A picture of the wise old owl. Now if you were to go to the wise old owl and share the problems with the wise old owl, he probably won't give you the solution straight away. Instead, he sits there and he observes. So the first thing in support your emotions is to observe. Observe how your children are feeling. That is the first step in being able to be a good support for them. Second, teach them to verbally label their emotions. If you see them doing this, help them connect that frown with anger. Help them to label it. If you see them being happy, say something like, you feel happy today, don't you? Connect the feeling that they have inside with an emotion word And the last one is help them and allow them space to express their emotions. And I want to tell you another story of my own daughter. So my daughter Sherry is 10 years old this year, and when she was 6 years old, I still remember it was a time when Inside Out the movie appeared. And almost every child wanted to watch it, even me as an adult wanted to watch it. And one day she came back from preschool, at the time K2, and she was looking like this. So if you were to practice number one, what would you think she's feeling? Observe. What would you think she's feeling? This kind of body language. I hear some people saying it. Sad? Maybe disappointed? Rejected? Yeah, they're dejected. So I saw body language. I didn't rush into solution. You know, sometimes we are so good at giving solutions, right? But we give the solution without even knowing what's the problem. Or sometimes we hear the problem, but we don't know the root of the problem, and we rush into giving solutions. So the first thing we did was observe. Something's not right today. So I asked her, Sherry, are you okay? I say, what happened? I said, everybody has watched Inside Out except me. She was sad. And it could be so easy as a parent to hear that and get triggered. And I could easily have said, so what? So everybody watch it. Why does it mean you have to watch it? You're so entitled. You all laugh because you probably hear it yourself. But I waited, I observed, I noticed. I said, no, it looks like you're feeling sad. Then you didn't get to watch Inside Out. Yeah. Everybody's talking about this pink elephant called Bing Bong. And all I know is that he's called Bing Bong. I don't know anything else about that. And I started to get the sense, and then maybe you're starting to get the sense that she was feeling left out. Because everybody can have that conversation. So I asked her, by the way, what do you mean by everybody? Actually, it's only 6 out of the 12 I watched it. She wanted to be included. She wanted to feel part of the gang that had watched it. And I said, okay, well, I don't think you can watch the movie right now. But what do you think? What would help you feel better in this moment? She said, Mom, maybe can we just watch all the trailers? And then maybe I'll have more things to say than just Bing Bong. I thought that was a reasonable request. I helped her to label it, she observed it, and I allowed her to express it. She was actually upset that she couldn't get to watch it. And it was resolved nicely without any scolding, without any promises of going to watch the show. And we went to watch the trailers, and she was happy. Actually, she said, I don't really want to watch the show, it's very long. But remember, when the first thing she said to me was, everybody has watched it except me. And we could easily make the assumption that what she wanted to do was watch the show. And that is why observation is really important. We need to pause and observe and see what's going on first before we offer a solution. Right? Okay, so, story about Sherry. The next part, I want to demonstrate a little bit what verbally label their emotions. And I would highly recommend to you, if you're a teacher, you're a parent, to make emotion cards. In order to teach our children how to recognize what emotions are, in order to help them to connect the emotional word to the feeling that they have inside, we need to help them to recognize it in the first place. Okay, so I'm going to show you pictures of my second daughter, and I would like you to guess the emotion that you see. So I made my own, and you can easily do this with your kids. They would love to join you in doing that. What is this one? How do you think she's feeling? Happy! Next one. What is that? Sad. Third one. Excited. Now as you go through the emotion cards, let them notice the little micro expressions. How did you know it's happy? Because she's smiling. How do you know it's sad? Because of the turned down mouth. Help them to connect this. Because when we can support their emotions, when they're able to label it, instead of throwing a tantrum, or withdrawing, or walking away when you ask them what's wrong, they now have the emotional vocabulary to express it to you. Otherwise, all the emotions are stuck inside, and resilience comes, part of resilience is being able to regulate your emotion, as Dr. Imelda said, being able to express it to you. Otherwise, as parents, you have to do a lot of guessing work. But it starts with building their capacity. So this is a game that you can play, right? Okay, next one. This is her classic look. What is that? Angry. Next one.
Shaky.
Disgusted. Yes, disgusted, which just smells the rubbish bin. She always does that. Next one. Shocked. The last two I made it up. Huh? What is this one? Cheeky. So you can make your own, make it up. And you notice if you look at each of the expressions, they are all different. And the last one is my favorite.
Whatever.
Duh. She's 5 and she can already say duh. No guesses where she caught it from, my 10-year-old. Okay, so one of the strategies, yes, is to teach them emotional vocabulary by using emotion cards. All we took is 1 minute just to take all these faces, and I have a lot more I could share with you. But if you don't want to do that, you can actually just Google emotion cards, print them out, teach it to them. Start with one a day, go on to another one, go on to another one. And by the end of 10, 12 days, they would at least have heard the emotion word once. And then when they can connect that with their own facial expression, when they catch themselves, they will be able to express it to you. Okay? So emotion cards. Next one, really important. The response when they are going through a negative emotion is really important to help them to build their resilience. Dr. Imelda mentioned, love your child, be a support for your child. One of the most important ways is to allow them space to express their emotions. Now, if your child came home and was angry and frustrated and irritated, will you go to your child and say, don't be angry? I hear many parents say that. Ayah, don't be sad lah. You lost your eraser, ayah, don't be sad lah, can buy a new one. Your friend shout at you, ayah, don't be angry lah, tomorrow will be a better day. We give a lot of this kind of advice, but in doing so, it sometimes feels dismissive to our children. Is my emotion not valid? So when we say don't be, and if I ask you, if your boss scolded you in front of everybody and you are really mad and I go to you, don't be mad, will you be less mad? No, it doesn't work. Instead, what is really important is to allow them the space to express it out. Let them get it out. Otherwise, we call this repressed emotion. It gets stuck inside. And that festers, affecting their emotions for the rest of the day. They ruminate on it, right? And they can't get it out of their system. So allow them to express. There are many modes you can do that. First, help them to write it out. If they're too young, maybe writing not. Writing is not the best way. For primary school and secondary, useful to get them to write it out. It's not graded. It's not going to be read by you. And they can continue to write whatever they want. Next one, you can talk to them, simply just listen to them. And remember, while you're listening, don't problem solve with them, don't judge them, right? They're in the process of growing up, and they're going to be making mistakes. And maybe all they want is just someone to listen to them, right? Next one, maybe get them to use their artistic powers to express themselves using their creativity. So my Sherry is a very creative person. She will express it through creating something. Whether it's shading, whether it's painting, whether it's doing origami, that is the way in which she would express herself. Next one, sing in the shower. I put that in there because actually music and being able to express yourself in multiple ways is also a way to relieve stress. Now sometimes parents may think, or even teachers may think, siao ah, why let them do this kind of thing? It's not effective. Now I want to challenge that notion of what is effective, right? The space to be able to express yourself, to be yourself, is part of being resilient because we are not forcing them to think in a certain way, right? And when they can get it out of their system, it is not occupying their mind space and cluttering the emotional bank that they have. Instead, it's allowing them a safe space, and she has also mentioned that, in which they can get their emotions out without fear of judgment. Next one, you can do some exercise, right? Kids have a lot of screen time nowadays, not enough time out in nature. Now, recent research has found that one of the ways to also build resilience is to be out in nature. So something that I do as a family ritual when the haze was not around was to spend at least half an hour every day from 5:30 to 6:30 or whatever time of the day out in the park that's near to us. They can do whatever they want, right? So exercise, getting them out there, getting them moving, also boosts their resilience. And the last one, I love this one. Do you know what that stands for? .B. sometimes when they're having an emotional episode, when they're going through something difficult, maybe sometimes you should just give them the space to just be and not ask them so many questions, because many questions can come across as interrogation. What happened now? Why your friend like that? Blah, 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 blah. And we go on and on and on. But maybe sometimes you just need the space to decompress. So just be. Hey, hope you are learning something from this. Help them to support their emotions. Second piece, embrace failure positively. So earlier she mentioned growth mindset versus fixed mindset. So in the fixed mindset, you probably may have heard your child say something like this. I'm either good at it or I'm not. Or maybe they have tried riding the bicycle many times and they say, I don't like it. But actually, the I don't like it is cue for I'm not good at it. And then they want to give up. Some of you have probably come here because you see your child give up easily, right? Or maybe they'll say, I don't like challenge, right? And the opposite of that is growth mindset. Now the growth mindset is when they encounter challenge and you say, challenge is a way for me to learn, challenge is a way for me to grow, right? And I can learn anything that I want. Now this mindset is not only relevant for students, it's also relevant for us. We want to be able to put on the growth mindset in our journey as a parent. When our children were born, we weren't given a manual, right? We had to figure it out along the way. And what that meant is that we make mistakes along the way. And I would be the first to tell you that even though I've given so many parenting talks, I make mistakes every day. But all I tell myself is I'm going to learn from this and I'm going to move on because my child's going to grow and change and I have to adapt together with them. So what happens when you see your child come to you with a fixed mindset? I want to run you through two scenarios and how you can respond. Because your response sends to them a cue. I'm here, I care. Or your response could tell them, I don't care. Right? So first one, let's say your son or daughter comes to you and says, I can't do it. I've tried and I can't do it. Sometimes this is what I hear parents say. Okay, look, can't do, go and do something else. Now this is what I would call the easy way out. They can't do it at this moment doesn't mean they can't do it forever, right? So one of the ways we could respond, I'm giving you 4 strategies, 4 ways, is to first acknowledge that they're going through something difficult. Empathy is also one of the ways to build resilience. So looks like this task is giving you a hard time. Acknowledge that they've tried, acknowledge that it's difficult. Don't immediately give the problem solved, right? Next one, perhaps you can't do it yet. So the magical word is yet. You can't do it at this moment. Doesn't mean you can't do it tomorrow. Next, what can you learn from all the times that you have tried? Because they are learning and growing creatures. Pull out the lessons from them. Ask them questions like these, right? And then next one, what have you tried to do? Because, right, in trying, maybe they have just not found the right path. Maybe they have tried something and they're almost there, and then they want to give up at that last moment. So ask them, what have you tried? In doing so, you also send a message to them that sometimes success may not come easily, and that's okay. It's okay to try multiple times before you encounter something good, before you get to where you want to go. Okay. Next example, let's say, and this is very common I think with girls, and they'll come back and say, nobody wants to be my friend. Maybe you have heard that. This happened a lot to my girls. And we could say, change friend lor. Go and find some new friends to hang out with. They're not the kind of people I want you to hang out with anyway. I've heard this many times, and parents have shared with me. Right? But that is, again, letting them go easily. And by the way, they can't keep changing friends. What if there are only 6 friends in the class? Right? It's not a good solution because they're kind of running away from it. So one thing we could do is, hey, can you tell me more? What's really going on? Pull it out from them. Let them tell the story. Next one. Oh, sounds like it's been a hard day at school. Again, acknowledge what they are going through. To your view, it may be very petty. It may be very simple. But your view is not their world. This is something we really have to understand as parents. Right? With my example about the Inside Out, I don't care whether I've watched Inside Out, but that was not the point at the moment. The point is that she is experiencing something. My job is to step into her world and find out what's going on with her. Right? Next one. Well, how can I help? Is there something that I can do? Don't tell them the solution straight away, but ask, how can I help? Maybe all they want is just a hug. Maybe all they want is just to vent it out. Right? And then last one, well, maybe it didn't work this time in trying to make friends with them, but now what can you try next time? Again, we are conveying the possibility that there is a next time. In other words, failure is not a full stop. When you encounter challenge, try again. Maybe try different ways to get there. Yeah? Okay, so that's 2 examples for you. As I said, I hope it's something that you can take back and that you can practice. Okay. My last point. Focus on their strengths. Now, if you look at this picture, where was your attention drawn first? How many of you saw the red apple immediately? The red, rotten apple. Yeah. How many of you were trying to count the number of apples there are? The truth is, just like my opening story with Alex, the father missed the 95 marks, was only focusing on the 5 marks. You know, when we focus on what our children can do, what we're actually doing for them is actually boosting their confidence. We're giving them inner strength because these strengths belong to them. I'll give you examples of how to do this. The first thing is we first need to observe and spot what their strengths are. By spotting, I mean observe their behaviors. What is the behavior showing about the kind of strength and quality that they have? That's one. Second one, give them examples of their strengths. So for example, my daughter, Sherry, as I mentioned, is very creative. Now I may know this, and I may share it with my friends and say, oh look at Sherry's painting, so creative. But the most important person who needs to hear that is Sherry. I need to go to her and say, Sherry, you have painted this beautiful painting that is now hanging in our living room, and it makes our living room look so homely. We give a concrete example how her strength has added value to the home, or how her strength is helping her become a better person. Because without that example, they cannot connect the strength to what they've done. So simply just saying you're very creative, she'll think, what is it I've done that's creative? We need to give the concrete example. And if we don't even tell them what their strengths and we spend 95% criticizing their weaknesses, what do you think they're going to believe about themselves? Is what you may be concerned about. They will say things like, I'm not good enough. I don't think I can do this. This one my friend can do, I can't do. Why? Because of the language that we have reached. So if there's anything you can change about your language, I would urge you to consider putting on a strengths lens. Look out for what they can do, communicate it to them, and then last one, provide opportunities to use their strengths. So back to creativity, she loves creative art, and she's already decorated the house. I decided that instead of nagging her to clean her room, which would lead to a downward spiral of nagging, complaining, nagging, shouting, whatever, I decided to say, can you use your creativity to tidy up your room? Sneaky, right? And I didn't expect her response. And she said, Mom, I watched Marie Kondo. Marie Kondo declutters rooms. I can be Marie Kondo of our house. I can do it in a very beautiful, creative way. I set her the challenge. She ran off and I came back. She said, Mom, come to the room, come to the room. Look at it. And it was so beautifully done. And that's the time again that I respond with her with encouragement. Thank you for using Marie Kondo strategy for your bedroom. I can now see everything where it should be. No nagging, no scolding, no threatening, right? Just focusing on what she can do. Thank you. And I just want to also put in context weaknesses. Now you may be thinking, when I mention strengths, then what about our kids' weaknesses? What if they really cannot pay attention? What if they're really not motivated? What if they are really selfish sometimes? Do we ignore it? Do we just continue focusing on the strengths? Now I want to present to you a very different way of looking at it. What if their weaknesses were simply strengths being underused or overused? What is, let's say we think of a strength, for example, like kindness. Think about kindness when it is overused. What will happen? A person who is too kind may end up being a doormat. A person who is not kind enough may end up coming across as mean. So when we see the underuse of the strength, these are all the negative behaviors, right? A child telling a lie is an underusing of honesty. They have the strength, it just hasn't been cultivated. Now, how do we cultivate that strength? Is point number 3. We need to give them opportunities to use the strength. Because strengths behave like muscles. If I want to grow my bicep, I can't just put it like that, right? Oh wow, magic. It's not going to happen. I've got to go to the gym, I've got to add weight, I've got to actually let them go through the activity in order to cultivate the strength. So if you want your child to be persevering, you have got to give them little obstacles so that they have the opportunity to persevere. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to just develop it overnight. It's not a magic pill. Yeah? Okay? So weaknesses could be underused or overused, but they're all strengths. Okay? New way of framing it. So I just want to do, so this is just my daughter and my 2 girls. So you saw the young one in her face, that's my elder one, Sherry. And these are strengths cards that we've actually created to actually help to identify the strengths. So it's just a little box of the 24 strengths that we put inside. You can see words like kindness, spirituality, honesty, and all of that. And I got them to identify each other's strengths. And you may be thinking, wow, she's very young, can she understand all those words? My challenge to you is, can we be the ones to introduce these words to them? Right? So Sherry said her Jeje has lots of teamwork. Because there was one night I was sick and the Jeje packed her to bed. And so she said, Jeje has teamwork. Jeje told me a story the other night. And when Sherry's turn for her, she said Zoe is very zesty because she's all over the place. She is. Yeah. Which is a good thing because she brings life to our house. Okay, so that's one way. Focus on their strengths. So these are the 24 character strengths. Maybe wondering why 24. So if you see right at the bottom, there's a veercharacter.org. If you're interested to know more about strengths, you can do that. Now I just want to check, do we have 2 minutes for a little activity? And 2 minutes. Okay, so I just want you, in the interest of practicing, to just turn to the person next to you and think of a child or student that you know. It doesn't have to be a current student, it can be your own child. And I want you to think and look at the board and choose one strength that you think your child or your student or a young person that you may interact with. If you can't think of a young person, it could be your spouse, your friend, you're just doing it as an exercise, okay, that this person has, and an example of the strength, and just share it with the person next to you. Okay, so mine is Sherry is creative, and I shared the example with you earlier. She can Marie Kondo the room until it's very neat and tidy. Okay, so I'll give you 1 minute to just share with the person next to you. Just want to hear some of your responses. What is the strength you see and an example of that strength? Okay, alright. So maybe I just ask one person to share. Maybe how about yourself? Could you share with me, the strength that you talked about? Okay, maybe I'll pass you a mic. I can pass you a mic as well. Hello. To share with us, what is the strength you identified and then the example?
I shared with her about my son.
Mm-hmm.
My son, he is very brave,
Okay.
in my opinion, because although he's a teenager, and teenagers usually like to conform,
Mm-hmm.
he likes to do something different.